Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. This is where we take the sources you send us, unpack them, and really get to the heart of the matter.
Giving you that shortcut to understanding complex topics.
Exactly. And today, we've got a fantastic source lined up, Session 18 of the Law of One, the rad contact material. A listener suggested this, and it's just packed with insights.
It really is. Session 18 digs into some core themes: truth, self-understanding, responsibility, even some quite surprising cosmic history. It's got this really positive and insightful feel to it.
Definitely. So our plan today is to walk through this session pretty much question by question.
Yeah.
We'll explore Raz's answers, pull out the key ideas, and, well, try to make sense of it all.
And I'm here to add a bit of context and maybe delve a little deeper into some of the concepts Ra presents. It should be a great exploration.
Fantastic. Let's jump right in then. Question 18.1. It starts off with a really fundamental concern, doesn't it?
It does. The questioner is essentially asking, hey, Ra, you operate under free will, the first distortion. How do we know you're not, maybe unintentionally, mixing errors in with the truth? It's a great question.
Yeah, he gets right to the heart of trust in channeled material.
Oh, okay.
So how does Ra respond?
Well, Ra offers reassurance first. They state very clearly they don't intentionally introduce errors. Their purpose is to share truth as they perceive it.
Okay, no intentional errors.
Yeah.
But they do acknowledge imperfections can slip in.
Yes, and they give a specific reason in this session. They mention variations in the instrument's vibrational complex.
The person channeling, Carla.
Right. And these variations were apparently caused by the ingestion of a chemical substance. It's quite direct.
It's surprisingly frank. And they frame it within their overall goal, which is expressing the infinite mystery of the one creation through, the limits of our language.
Precisely. So even with the best will, the human element, the instrument's condition, the words available can lead to slight inaccuracies.
Which naturally leads to the next questions, 18.2 and 18.3. The questioner wants to know, what substance are we talking about?
Yeah, the logical follow-up. Ra identifies it as, using their terminology, vibratory sound complex, LSD.
Right. But the key point Ra makes isn't really about the LSD itself, is it? It's about the process.
Exactly. Ra clarifies it wasn't that LSD inherently made the contact poor. The issue, in this specific instance they're referencing, was the drop-off in its effect during the session.
Ah, okay. So it started okay, but then the effect wore off quickly.
That's how Ra describes it. It led to, quote, spotty contact, and then the instrument had to rely on her own vital energy, which Ra notes was low.
Meaning they had to cut the session short?
Yes, to protect the instrument. So the real insight here is about the sensitive, energetic balance needed for this kind of deep trance channeling and how external factors can disrupt it. Ra even says the substance was both helpful and unhelpful, which makes sense given that explanation.
Okay, that clarifies the context nicely. Then question 18.4 shifts gears a bit to something more, well, earthly diet. What foods are good or bad for the instrument?
A very practical question. Ra suggests grains and vegetables are generally best for this particular instrument, acknowledging her predisposition towards physical challenges or ill health.
But they add a really important caveat, don't they?
They do. They immediately say that diet is much less important than the instrument's positive attitude. That really stands out.
Yeah, it's a strong reminder about the mind-body connection, or maybe mind over body in this context.
Absolutely. They do mention that occasional meat might help with low vital energy in her specific case, but the main takeaway is definitely the power of a positive mindset for well-being.
Now, 18.5.
Hmm.
This one feels like a cornerstone of the session. It tackles the idea of self-erasure, like in some mystic traditions, versus engaging with the self and the world to grow towards the law of one.
Oh, definitely. This is a really profound part of the session. Ra's response is, I think, beautifully balanced, the core teaching. Experience your desires, all of them.
Experience all desires. That sounds potentially messy.
Well, the crucial next step is key. Analyze them, understand them, and accept them. Find the love light within those experiences, within those desires.
Ah, okay. So it's not just indulgence, it's conscious processing. I like that line. Nothing shall be overcome. That which is not needed falls away.
Isn't that powerful? It implies this natural sifting process. You don't fight yourself. You understand yourself, and the unnecessary stuff just dissolves.
Instead of pushing desires down.
Exactly. Rod actually warns against trying to forcefully overcome desires. They say it's unbalanced and can paradoxically make you hold on to the very thing you're trying to conquer.
So the shortcut of just ignoring or suppressing things isn't really a shortcut at all.
Not according to Ra. Patience, Compassion, analysis, understanding, acceptance, that's the path. It leads you towards consciously choosing how to express love and light.
And what about desires that really seem off? Things not aligned with the law of one.
Ra offers a fascinating alternative there. Use imagination. You can explore a desire in your mind, understand its roots and lessons, without needing to act it out physically if it would infringe on another or harm. It respects free will while still allowing for that crucial understanding.
That's a very practical piece of guidance. Okay, question 18.6 expands the view. Are there ways to break the law of one besides infringing on free will?
Yes. Ra introduces the idea of understanding the focal points of intelligent energy, the logos of a place, like a planet or even a density.
The sort of consciousness or organizing principle of a sphere.
Kind of, yes. Distortions, or breaking the law, can happen when actions don't consider this logos. This includes not understanding the needs of the natural environment.
Like ecology, planetary health.
Exactly. And also not understanding the needs of other mind-body-spirit complexes, other people. It's about awareness beyond just direct interaction.
So it's about a wider responsibility.
It seems so. Ra acknowledges it's complex. What's right for one might not be for another, but the guiding principle they offer is crucial. Awareness of the other self as self.
There it is again, that oneness principle.
Yes. Cultivating that leads to compassion, sensitivity, empathy. It helps avoid what Ra calls distortions of man-made intelligence and awareness, which I take to mean, purely ego-driven or intellectually derived rules that ignore deeper connection.
And they also touch on societal structures.
Briefly, yes. They state that the societal complex is under the free will of the people within that sphere. So the primary directives seem to be aware of the intelligent energy in nature and in yourself and share that awareness appropriately. And navigate relationships and service with genuine sensitivity to what others truly need.
That's a lot to chew on. That 18.7 and 18.8 bring it back to the individual timeline. When does responsibility kick in?
A very practical question. Ross says self-consciousness, that sense of I am, emerges at different times but has a median age on Earth of about 15 months.
15 months. Wow, that's young.
It is. And crucially, Ross states that responsibility becomes retroactive from that point.
Meaning, once you're self-aware, you become accountable for your actions, even those from before you fully grasped the implications.
That seems to be the implication as you grow and understand. They confirm, answering a direct question, that yes, even a 4-year-old is considered responsible for actions that are out of harmony with the law of one.
That has significant implications for parenting and education, doesn't it? And who guides these young souls? That's question 18.9.
Ra's answer is simple and grounded. Parents, teachers, friends, the immediate community.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, now for a bit of a curveball. Questions 18.dis and 18.11 focus on Aleister Crowley.
Yes, the questioner notes Crowley seemed to understand parts of the law of one and asks about his status. Ra confirms he had a partial understanding, yes.
And his current situation.
Ra says he's undergoing healing on the inner planes. The really interesting part is why.
Did he misuse his knowledge? The questioner asked that.
Ra offers a more nuanced view. They say Crowley became overstimulated by glimpsing the true nature of things. It was too much, too fast, leading to behavior beyond his conscious control.
Like an overload.
Sort of, yeah. They describe him struggling to balance his energy centers, becoming alienated from other selves. It suggests a disconnect between intellectual understanding and integrated, compassionate action.
So Ross sees him as positive in orientation, but just struggling.
Yes. Positive, but facing major difficulties in synthesizing everything and sharing it with true compassion. They call his state spiritually complex and unhealthy, needing nurturing until he can process his experiences without distortion towards pain. It's quite a compassionate assessment, actually.
A cautionary tale about integration, maybe. Okay, question 18.2 loops back to a core concept. Forgiveness, eradicating karma. Does that include forgiving yourself?
Emphatically yes, according to Ra. Self-forgiveness is just as crucial as forgiving others.
Hey, why is that?
Because of oneness. Ray explains that forgiving another is forgiving the self. They are not separate. So full, conscious forgiveness requires both aspects, releasing judgment towards others and towards oneself.
That really lands the interconnectedness point powerfully. Then 18.13 asked about different confederations and their service to the Creator.
Ray's answer reinforces the oneness theme. Ultimately, All serve the one creator because, well, there's nothing else to serve.
Everything is the creator.
Right. The differences come in the distortions of this service, the unique ways or focuses each group expresses that service. They compare it to the different groups within the Confederation that work with Earth. Each has a specialty, a unique way of helping, but all under the umbrella of serving the one.
Like different departments aiming for the same company goal.
A reasonable analogy, yeah. Okay, now we get into a really detailed section, 18.14 through 18.25. This covers the interactions of a being or group called Yahweh with Earth and the subsequent influence of the Orion group.
Right, this sounds like some deep history. How did Yahweh interact?
Ra outlines several methods. Direct genetic changes, actually walking among people to facilitate further genetic mixing through procreation, and also communicating through chosen channels, like prophets.
Genetic modification and direct contact. That's quite involved. What was the purpose?
The stated goal was to accelerate spiritual growth on Earth. They aimed to introduce traits like sharper senses, stronger minds, for analysis that Yahweh believed would help people grasp concepts like the law of one more quickly.
When did this happen?
Ra gives two main timeframes. Initial cloning experiments related to relocated Martians around 75,000 years ago, and then more direct intervention involving the Anak, creating larger, stronger bodies around 3,600 years ago.
Okay, and this is where things went wrong.
According to Ra, yes. The experiment didn't lead to the intended embrace of oneness. Instead, it fostered a sense of difference, of an elite group, which is a distortion towards service to self.
A classic unintended consequence.
Mhm.
And the Orion group, when did they get involved with this Anak group?
Around the same time, about 3,600 years ago. But Ra clarifies something important. Yahweh initiated the larger bodies, partly as an experiment against Orion's influence.
Ah, so Yahweh created the situation that Orion then exploited.
Precisely. The Orion group seized on the feeling of being different and superior among the Anak and others influenced by Yahweh, twisting it away from oneness towards elitism and control.
So Yahweh was confederation, but made mistakes.
Yes, that's how Ra portrays it. A member of the Confederation trying to help, but whose methods, interacting with Earth's free will, had mixed and partly negative results. It helped some, but it also gave the Orion group their first major foothold by appealing to that temptation of the strong and intelligent to see themselves as separate and superior.
That feeling of being chosen, but in a divisive way.
Exactly. Ra says this distortion, this twisted perception of oneness, led to concepts like holy war, fighting for God, but in a way that divides rather than unites. It's a stark lesson in the subtle ways service to self can infiltrate.
Wow, that's a complex history with huge implications. Okay, the session then winds down. Questions 18.26 and 18.27 are about the immediate practicalities.
Yes, back to the present moment of the channeling. The questioner asks if they can do another session that evening. Ra assesses the instrument, Carla, noting her vital energy is low again.
So another session is possible, but conditional.
Right. Only if the instrument receives some physical balancing first. Ra gives specific advice: careful diet, physical manipulation, probably massage or gentle adjustments to ease pain, and some exercise.
And a reminder about the ritual preparation.
Yes, emphasizing careful alignment of the protective symbols if they were to attempt a second session. It just brings it all back to the very human effort involved in facilitating this contact.
Absolutely. What a session. From the nature of truth and error through deep dives into desire and responsibility, cosmic history, forgiveness. It covers so much ground.
It really does. It weaves together the intensely personal journey of understanding the self with these vast cosmic narratives and principles. The guidance on desire, experience, understand, accept, let fall away feels incredibly practical and compassionate.
And the history lesson with Yahweh and Orion is a powerful reminder of how complex interventions can be and how easily positive intentions can be distorted toward separation.
Definitely. Perhaps a final thought to leave listeners with, stemming from all this. Session 18 really underscores the immense importance of discernment. Whether we're evaluating information, examining our own desires, or considering how to serve others, the challenge is always to see past the surface, past potential distortions, both external and internal, and connect with that underlying principle of oneness and love light. How do we cultivate that clarity in ourselves?
That's the ongoing work, isn't it?
Yeah.
A perfect question for reflection. Thank you so much for unpacking all of that with us.
My pleasure. It's always fascinating to revisit this material.
And thank you to our listeners for joining this deep dive into Session 18. We hope it sparks some new insights and encourages you to explore further.
Indeed. Keep seeking, keep questioning.
Until next time on The Deep Dive, may your journey be filled with discovery and understanding. Adonai.